Hi, Hugh Taylor here, coming at you on a Sunday morning. I have a bit of a cold, so today I thought I would do something a little bit different, which is I'm going to just record a short intro to part of a press release course that I've previously recorded. And just real quick, what today's video is part one of a 5-part press release writing course that is available on commsfactory.net. So I just want to give you the first module here. You get a feel for it. If you like what you see, you can take the full course. It's completely free, available at the link in the description below, or go to commsfactory.net/courses to sign up. Briefly, the idea behind this course is it's about an hour's worth of instruction that will tell you how the media landscape is evolving and how to work that to your advantage in press release writing, how to time your press releases to avoid looking dead to potential customers, and then we get a lot into how to write a press release itself, like the one element that every press release needs that most people don't know about, how to format your press release so it follows PR industry's kind of unwritten rules that make it reporter friendly, and the full process involved in finding suitable publications and targeting journalists who want to write an article about you based on your press release. So with that in mind, I'm going to turn it over to me from a previous recording.
Hello, welcome to How to Write a Great Press Release. My name is Hugh Taylor, and I'm going to be your instructor for the next hour or so. A quick overview of the course. We're doing 5 modules. Each one's about 10 minutes long. Module 1 is, why should you write a press release? This is a great question to ask because not every situation and not every company needs one or needs a public relations program. So very important thinking in the beginning, just understanding why you do a press release and what they are and what they can do for you. Module 2 is what I call the 10-minute communication strategy workshop, because a press release is part of, or should be part of, just a broader communications program. And it's important to situate that and understand the relationship between press releases and your overall business objectives. Module 3 looks at the press release itself, like what's in a press release, what the components of the press release, and what they each do. Module 4 goes into more depth with some style issues, talks about press release writing style. And Module 5 wraps it up with some thinking on how to actually get your news out into the media, how to land your story in the press. So very quickly about me. I have 20 years experience, give or take, in marketing communications, primarily in the enterprise technology category. I was a public relations manager at Microsoft for a $2 billion product portfolio that they run. I was also a social software evangelist at IBM, and I've been a VP of marketing and marketing communications at a bunch of venture-backed startups over the years. I've done a lot of public relations, and I've written a ton of press releases, most recently on Fiverr and some other gig kind of services, and I've seen a lot of interesting businesses and interesting challenges also in getting news together for small businesses. So Module 1, why issue a press release? So there's a couple of reasons why you might want to do a press release. One is to get your news out into the world, get your news out, get coverage in the media. That can mean a lot of different things depending on your business. It might mean, getting a radio spot about you, getting picked up on the web by different news sites, maybe print like a newspaper or magazine or television. But the bottom line, it really is to keep in mind always, is that a press release should be furthering your business objectives through the communication tactic of public relations. A press release is not an end unto itself. And the most common issue that I see is, and I'm not faulting anybody, not everybody comes to this knowing a lot about PR, is that many people don't understand that a press release has to be announcing some news. And I always like to say, the word new is in news. You have to have some news. So we're going to look at a couple different situations where there's a company that wants to make an announcement, but they're not really sure what it is they want to announce. And that's one of the things that I do in my work, is to figure out what's interesting news, because the news is what's going to get you coverage, and it's what should be aligning with your business and communications objectives. Other reasons to do a press release, especially if you're a smaller company or a startup, press releases like on a website show activity in your business. It kind of shows that you have a pulse. I mean, you can go to a website for a business and it might look completely static, like the website could have been put up 10 years ago and you don't know if anything's happened to that company since then. A list of press releases that have been published will show activity, growth, changes, innovation, that kind of thing. There is a web search indexing function to press releases on your site. Create fresh content for SEO crawlers. Although one thing that I've heard, and I'm not an expert on this, but my understanding is that the search engine optimization benefits of press releases are not as good as they used to be. But most important is, in this sense, is to realize your communication strategy. So, for example, if your goal is to say that, let's say you run a sports betting pick service, like someone I was working with at some point said, if your goal is to say, we say we're the #1 sports betting tip service, let's use announcements and then hopefully the press coverage that follows to show that we're the #1. Let's really make it happen in the news media. Let's get other people talking about us, and when people look for us, they'll see that publications or media sources confirm that we're the #1 sports betting tip service. On a day-to-day basis, press releases can be really good for as a pretext for talking to people. You follow up with clients and send out newsletters saying, hey, we've got some news. It's a way to kind of look alive. In terms of discoverable in search, as I mentioned, my understanding is that the Google algorithms have changed in the last year or two to the point where the backlinking potential of press releases to get backlinks out onto websites like Yahoo Finance or that pick up or other services that pick up press releases and have those backlinks to your site. My understanding is that those are not counting as much as they used to for SEO, but a press release will still make you discoverable, and it's important to be searchable. It gives you more venues to be searchable. A big caveat, though, in doing a press release or public relations in general now versus even 5 years ago, certainly versus 10 years ago, is that things have really changed in the media landscape. The media landscape is very different from what it used to be, and to the point where I really believe that there are very few true experts in public relations today, including myself. I mean, I have, some expertise in public relations, but I would never make the claim that I'm a complete expert in it. I think I have a lot to say and a lot to offer about how to do a good press release, but the media landscape is so fragmented today that it is difficult to make an impact. And a lot of the old rules about how you get press coverage have changed, and some things just simply aren't possible anymore. Now, that also means there are opportunities. Every situation like that, you can't just sort of wring your hands and say, oh, no, everything's terrible, everything's changed. But you have to be realistic about what's going on. One thing that's happened, and this is, I think, partly just the way the news business has fallen apart as an industry, there is a loss of authoritative sources of news, or the few that remain are much more competitive to get a hold of. And this is the way that people consume media is quite different. People get more of their news online than they used to. They're looking at different sources of news. And a lot of what's in the press release, even just by its very name, the press release, it's oriented to old-fashioned print journalism, and it's still a very trusted, standard sort of vehicle for getting news out, but it is in some ways obsolete. And I think you have to understand that you're creating a press release as part of an overall way of getting your word out there. It's not that you don't just like put a press release out on the wire and go back to bed. There's a whole process you have to be into to get noticed. Now, there is good and bad in this. With the fragmentation of the media, I think there's actually more opportunities for better coverage with more narrow voices. So, for example, if you were a company that wanted to get your name in the newspaper previously, you might be able to do that, but who reads a newspaper? I don't know. So now you might be able to find coverage in a small but very influential blog, for example, that will really get the right people noticing you. One of the things that's changed is what constitutes what's a journalist. Used to be a journalist was someone who worked for a newspaper or a television station, and that was pretty much it. Now there's all people sort of in a blur, like bloggers, experts, commentators, online content syndicators, and curators and so forth, who are becoming more authoritative, and they're actually really where you want to be focused if you're in a niche market, which many of us are. But at the same time, there's more opportunities to get lost in the noise. So it's a tricky environment to be in.